Sauerkraut is a salty cabbage dish from Germany that's really quite delicious. It's often eaten with mashed potatoes and ham or sausages. From this popular cabbage dish, the term Kraut arose as a slang word for a German person, usually in a derogatory sense. But in this sense, we're talking about the link to culture, the link to German rock. Deutsche Rock was used until 1973 for the rock groups coming out of West Germany. But in the early 1970s, the British music magazine known as Melody Maker coined the term Krautrock. The name was more or less used to ridicule or make fun of the bands. But as Krautrock caught on in Britain, the term lost any negative or mocking connotations it once had, though many German Krautrock bands still rejected the absurd name. It is thought that Krautrock was more of a British phenomenon that focused on how the music was received in Britain, rather than how the West German music scene felt about the music. Krautrock may sometimes be referred to as, in German, kosmische Musik, meaning cosmic music, which suits its sound, in my opinion, because there are aspects of this music that feel otherworldly, like they can't have been composed here on Earth by other humans. There are elements of the unexpected. It is unpredictable, slightly strange, a little bit out there. I think it's also interesting to note that the word komisch means strange in German, which is not a far cry from kosmische. You can always call the music spacey, and that would fit as well. But what does Krautrock mean, musically speaking? It is essentially a genre of experimental rock which pulls from psychedelic rock, funk, jazz, avant-garde, and electronic music. It arose from West Germany in the late 1960s and early 1970s. The genre deliberately tries to distance itself from the American rhythm and blues genre and instead draws on German influences while still keeping a distinct rock rhythm. A band member of the popular Krautrock band, Faust, stated that they tried to forget everything typical of the rock and roll genre, including the 3-chord pattern and the usual lyrics. They wanted something totally different. Krautrock is a very experimental genre, breaking out of old, tried and true habits and delving into the untouched, the unthought of, the new and strange. A 4/4 rhythm known as motoric is common of the Krautrock genre. Motoric means motor skills in German. This drum pattern was pioneered by Jaki Lieberseit, drummer of the popular Krautrock band Can, and was also used early on by the band Neu. The motoric 4/4 beat was later used by many other Krautrock bands. In the 1960s, the hippie movement and political activism that was rampant in North America and Europe demanded a new type of music. Avant-garde music was emerging, droning on with ambient synthesizers and other psychedelic sounds. This genre of music largely inspired the Krautrock movement. In 1968, in the city of Essen, a rock festival took place, and this was one of the first places that Krautrock was performed and heard. From here on, the Krautrock genre took hold, and many bands began producing music with the spacey, ambient, and electronic sound. Let's take a look at the band Can, one of the pioneering bands of Krautrock. Can was formed by two students of the famous and praised composer Karl-Heinz Stockhausen. Stockhausen was educated in music and attended the University of Cologne and the University of Bonn. He was known for his influential compositions, his work with electronic music, and his theories. Can. Evidently, his students learned a lot from his unique teachings and went on to form the Krautrock band Can, in German Kann, which was using techniques that were at the time very new and unheard of. It is one thing to see a new genre of music after it has been invented and think that doesn't seem so hard to come up with. The idea was sitting right in front of them. But it is another thing entirely to create a new genre from thin air. Of course, Can was not the only band pioneering the Krautrock genre, but they certainly had a big hand in it. Can never had one permanent singer, but rather many temporary ones. The band was formed in Cologne in 1968. They only consisted of 4 members. Another band that helped lay the groundwork for Krautrock was the band Neu, meaning new. If you're wondering why the band was named New, it was inspired by the rise of advertising in the bigger German cities at the time. And new was one of the most powerful words for selling different things to the public. Neu was formed in 1971 in Düsseldorf by Klaus Dinger and Michael Rother. Dinger and Rother were 2 former members of the popular band Kraftwerk in its early days, but left to start Neu. Although Neu had less commercial success than Can, it was still a pioneer of Krautrock and inspired many punk, rock, and electronic bands in the years that followed. The band's first album, entitled Neu, was released in 1972 and sold 30,000 copies, which was not very much when compared to mainstream competitors, but a decent amount when considered that they were an underground, offbeat band. The album has come to be praised by many big names in music such as David Bowie, Brian Eno, and Iggy Pop. Songs like Hallo Gallo demonstrated the quintessential motoric beat. As mentioned before, Dinger and Rother were originally in the band Kraftwerk in its early days, before leaving to form Neu. Kraftwerk was another influential band of electronic music. It was formed in Düsseldorf in 1970 by Ralf Hutter and Florian Schneider. The band experimented with Krautrock in its early days, featuring instruments such as the synthesizer, drum machines, and self-made instruments. Kraftwerk really helped to popularize the lesser-known Krautrock genre and make it available to a wider audience. In 1974, they had commercial success with their hit album Autobahn, which they were able to tour with the financial help of Phonogram Incorporated. Let's take a look at the band Faust. Faust is a band named after the protagonist of a classic German tale. Faust was a popular band that was formed in 1971 in Weimar. Faust paved the way for many other Krautrock bands. Although their debut album had poor sales, it did attract a small but loyal fan base and was praised for its innovation. Some of the notable krautrock bands include Tangerine Dream, Embryo, Cosmic Jokers, and Cluster, among many others. The influence of krautrock was considerable on many genres, including electronic, post-punk, rock, and British new wave. A notable musician who was inspired by the krautrock scene was David Bowie. Bowie, who began living in Berlin in '76, created the Berlin Trilogy, a sequence of 3 albums, Low, Heroes, and Larger, as a tribute to the music scene he experienced in Berlin, which included krautrock and kosmische Musik. Krautrock, while it may have been named so as a mockery at first, has actually become a highly influential and fascinating genre. It features cosmic, dreamy, and ambient sounds, and often uses the 4/4 motoric rhythm. I think the krautrock genre is commendable in its non-conformity and innovation of the rock genre. With that being said, thank you for watching, and thank you for listening. My name is Gary Harrison, and remember, stay humble and stay hungry. And I'll catch you on the next one.